Hey guys, KinoDVT here, and this is a game I played about 5 minutes ago, and I just rewatched the replay, and I thought it might be fun for you guys to watch. It's a PvP on new map. I have no idea what the name is, but the map is kind of interesting, and I'm going to go over the map while I get this game started. Now, this map has a expansion here, and two sets of rocks, which not exactly sure how I feel about. I like this expansion, although you do have to be a little careful about a rock bust. But in an econ game, I do actually like this, because then to take my third, I need to knock down these rocks. And to be honest, if I've expanded both bases, my army is going to be here, which it was for most of the game, and then expanding there isn't particularly difficult. Taking another expansion gets a bit complicated, but then you're kind of just going for a hidden expansion with a couple of cannons or something. Two Zelnaga watchtowers in the middle, able to see quite a lot. Control Monkey, my opponent, not doing anything particularly interesting early. Now, I've been flaming out on ladder a bit recently because, to be honest, I've been getting really bored with the sheer amount of repetitiveness I have. A lot of Protosses I verse just go 4-gate, and it bugs me. Not because I don't think it's a valid strategy, but because that's all I see, and for me, in StarCraft, I would rather have good games rather than lots of short, bad games. And I personally feel I start to play better and better the later a game gets on, because I find I always warm up in early game, and then as it goes on, I seem to manage bases a lot better than most people. Whoops. So one of the things I like to do is always try and ensure I get to that late game. And this is why the Forge is coming up. Now, my work is over here, so you could think I'm cannoning, but I'm not. I just played this game, I know I'm not. Now, production. Now, my strategy at the moment has been put 2 cannons, one here, and 2 pylons here, and just econ. Don't get gas until about the 6th minute, and just econ. Get a couple of zealots, you've got a nice wall. And ever since I formulated this strategy about 8 games ago, I think I've lost 1 or 2, and that was just when I was getting the strategy down. I seem to find that I'm able to push out at about 7 minutes with the right amount of forces to take an expansion or to see what's going on, and I just poke them, and I generally go for a robotics facility so I can get some scouting information with the thing, observer, because it now costs less and you really should use it. And then I decide what I want to do from there. But another thing I've been getting really bored with is the sheer amount of 2-gate robo there is. Like, Protoss, you see 4-gate or 2-gate robo, and you're going to see Colossi. So I was thinking about how I could counter that, and I thought, why don't I give Phoenixes a try? And I've been thinking about this for a while, and my mate Talene, who I occasionally play with, is very, very good with Phoenixes. And now I do actually try a bit of a cannon here, because I figure if I can slow him down, that allows me to econ all the more. But it ends up being scouted, so I cancel it, which isn't a big deal. I don't lose any minerals, and it puts a little bit of threat. He does pull all these workers, but they do go back. Pardon me while I take a drink, it's a little hot. So as you can see, I'm still at the 4th minute, and I haven't put down a gas yet, which isn't great if you're teching. But because I've got these 2 cannons, I feel safe, and I'm just laying down my gateway now. So by the time someone's pushing with a 4-gate, you're going to have 2 or 3 zealots in here, plus these 2 cannons, and you're pretty much going to be able to hold it off. The one thing you do need to watch for is a pylon down here and something giving sight. That will stuff you up, however, that significantly slows down a 4-gate and turns it more into like a 3-gate robo for observer. But this strategy works for me, might not work for you, but for those people who might be getting a little annoyed at the sheer amount of cheese out there and feeling, but I really like the late game, I really like 200-200 armies, I really like 4-base. This is a way for Protoss to do it. Now Terran can wall off, but as you've seen, my anti-Terran walling strat is very, very good, and can actually make a walling Terran's life quite difficult. So maybe that's not the best way to do it as Terran, but maybe it is. We'll see what happens. But that's a specific PvT strat which I like to use. Maybe you don't have to, but the reason I showed it to you was because I rather like it. It's worked for me, and PvTs that where they block off, I win. Because I'm able to hit their wall, take out a barracks, a supply depot or two, and they can't do anything about it, because I'm just able to dance up and down here, and I can just stay out of their range until I have 2 charged Void Rays, at which point Marines kinda melt. Now, if you're going to try this strategy, one of the things I recommend is that with your first Zealot, you scout. Because this Zealot is going to give me a lot of scouting information which my early probe wouldn't have. Because my early probe, you'll remember, if we go to my view, gave me this scouting information. That's kinda generic. Now, if my early probe had given me this scouting information, that would have been a little more interesting. And he is going for a 4-gate, but he's not going for a 4-gate push. So, if I'm getting this information, I might have gone a little differently. But the big important thing I actually get out of this scout is that I actually discover he has an expansion. And a lot of people like to feel, well, they've expanded early pressure. I don't like that philosophy, because again, I feel I thrive in the late game. So what I like to do is, when I know someone's expanded, expand yourself. Now, with Zerg it's a little different, but PvP, as far as I'm concerned, if they've expanded, you can feel safe to expand as well, because you know they're not going to be knocking down on your front door anytime soon. Now, the other thing which I rather like about pushing this early cannons is I actually get level 1 weapons ridiculously early. I've played a game where I had level 1 weapons at the 6th minute mark, 3 Zealots, 2 cannons, held off 9 Marines, 3 Marauders. Because level 1 Zealots were just giving me such a great advantage with the cannon support. And if you've got an early forge, you may as well use it. And if you notice at the moment, I really haven't spent that much gas, and I've got 300 free. So saving up that extra 100 minerals just to get level 1 weapons is really worth it. And my level 1 weapons is popping now. So I started at about the 5.5, 6 minute mark, which is very, very early for level 1 weapons, but can give you a massive advantage against your opponents. Now, he is Maynarding his workers across. Now, some people like that, but that's not my style. My style is, some people do frown upon it, but I prefer it. It is just waypointing your workers from there to there, because as far as I'm concerned, if I do this and Maynard across, I'm going to have a bunch of workers traipsing across, and I'm going to have a big dip in income for about 30 seconds. Whereas if I just have one going all the time, then that's not such a big dip in income, but the workers still get there at the same speed. And unless you've ridiculously oversaturated your main, then I think this is the way I prefer to do it. Now, I'm saying a lot of prefer or like, but that's what it's about. You need to find a strategy which works for you. If that's cheese, go ahead. But I'm telling you right now, at some point you will be beaten. Cheese has its flaws in that you do sacrifice economy to kill them. And the community in StarCraft is only just starting to change their way of playing, and these new set of maps that were created by Blizzard were specifically designed to counter cheese. They're bigger, they're giving you more space, they're making it easier. They even said that in the patch notes. Not exactly in those words, but pretty close. So, I'm just a little bit of a warning to people who are cheesing on the ladder all the time. Eventually the community will change, and your cheese will have to get better and better. Don't you remember how much cheese of how many cannon rushes were happening in the first couple of weeks of the game? I got killed so many times by that, and I hated it. And then the community changed, because we learned how to scout. We learned that instead of scouting our base, we should be scouting their base, and if all we see is a pylon and forge, then we're in trouble. Or if all we see is nothing, then we're really deeply in trouble. Now, so I'm now building my robotics facility. I have 2 bases, and I'm going to send out an observer. It is actually on its way now. So I've just gotten the really crucial tech information I want, which for me is this. I've seen this. That means Colossi, and Colossi vs Colossi gets messy, in my opinion. I don't really like it, so I was thinking to myself, how could I best counter a couple of Colossi quickly? And one of the things I do is I lay down 2 forges, and as you can see, my macro is slipping a bit up here. We'll see what his is up to in a second. His is slightly better than mine, but he's got more gas, so we're about even. But I'm thinking, how can I beat the Colossi easily? Now, the option I chose might not be easy, it actually requires more APM, and that's Phoenixes, but I still like it, and I prefer it to just going Colossi versus Colossi, so we're just going to keep going. And as you notice, I am trying to take more of an informative role in these videos, which, the way I see it, there's two big commentators out there. There's Day 9 and there's Husky. Husky's if you want to have fun, and Day 9's if you want to learn. I would like to be somewhere in the middle of that. Straight down the middle. Now, of course, you've got Cynical Brit and others, and I know there's a lot of more minor commentators, but the big YouTube ones, in my opinion, are Day 9 and Husky. And I really would like to get big, but I don't know if it'll happen. Maybe it'll happen in 20 years, maybe it'll never happen. But if it ever does, my goal is to be straight down the middle of Husky, over here, and Day 9, which is fun and learning, because I really like Day 9's videos, and they're really informative, but they do get a bit boring and dull, and he does try and spice it up, but it's still pure learning, and I go to school for that, and to be honest, I don't enjoy school that much. Now, as we can see, I am taking my third, so I am taking out these rocks just to make it a little bit easier for me to get to and from my base. We do see the first Colossi coming out now, and here's an interesting time in the game. Army-wise, he's kicking my ass. You can see that clear as day. But behind the scenes, what do I have? I have level 1 armor and weapons. He doesn't. That's quite a significant advantage. And I do believe he could have killed me now, and he does have quite a few casters, so he's going to get 2 armor from that, force fields, and he does do some quite good force field use, but he doesn't push in now. And I do have 2 immortals, which will chew everything to bits, because they're not going to get bonus damage, but they don't deal much damage. Stalkers will get torn to pieces, and they will get torn to pieces. Now, we do see me laying down the 2 Stargates, so this is where I've got to counter the Colossi bit is coming into play. And to be honest, yes, he probably could kill me, but it'd be a close thing. And to be honest, I'm about to pop level 2 weapons and level 1 shield, which is going to give me quite a bit of an edge. So if he waits, let's see, 10, 20... If he waits a small amount of time, I think I'm going to gain a big advantage in this fight. Because he's at 107 food. Sorry, I'm at 107 food, and he's at 123, so that's not a colossal difference. Now I'm just going to pause it for a second, because I want to have a look at the units overlay. So we're identical on probes. I've got 11 zealots, 3 immortals, and 8 stalkers. He's got 16 stalkers, 7 sentries, 2 colossi, and 2 zealots. Now, I do have charge at this point, so these zealots are going to be getting in there fast. I do have 3 immortals, which is going to tear his stalkers to pieces, so I do actually believe that at this point my army is beating his. I do have triple 1, and he just has 1 weapons. So, my 1 weapons, my 1 armor cancel each other out, so I've got level 1 weapons, and he's got nothing. Now, we do see him pushing out a bit, and my army is doing alright, but he is playing nicely with force field, so I'm just dancing back and forth a bit, which is, to be honest, what we do for a while, and I think it went alright. Now, I still think he could have pushed me. Now, I think he could have pushed and won, but that's a big what if, which he didn't follow up. He does have range on his colossi, and he might have been able to push me, but it would have been close, and he might have overextended, and I might have been able to take the game. But we'll see what happens. Warping in a couple of extra stalkers, because I feel maybe I don't have the range superiority that I need, given I'm versing very high range colossi. I do, however, have a lot of upgrades, and my air guys do have upgrades as well, so I'm doing quite well. He is laying down his third a little slower than me, but my bases aren't perfectly saturated, so what you can do? We are just dancing back and forward here. I don't think either of us know who's going to win. I would be curious to be able to ask him how many of my upgrades he knew about at this point, like if he'd clicked and checked, because otherwise I'm a bit curious as to why he didn't push in. I do actually feel that if we're just looking at the 2 army sizes, he does seem to have an advantage. If we click on the armies and look at the upgrades, I think I then get the big advantage very, very quickly, as well as these 4 phoenixes. Now to be 6. 6 phoenixes can take a colossi out very, very quickly, but the biggest thing I like about it is they can't actually fire at anything else. Now, that might sound a bit stupid because they're phoenixes, they're anti-air, but that means that there's nothing which can distract them from the colossi. Because my zealots, I would really like them to hit on the colossi because they'll die quickly, but it's not exactly going to happen because there's a big wall in the front. Now there's nothing stopping my stalkers from killing those colossi directly, which I really, really like. Now he's pushing for level 2 ground weapons, and I'm not upgrading at all. So again, this is where I feel I start to get an advantage over most players. I feel I do really, really well in late game, and my new strategy tries to complement that. Now, again, we are just dancing back and forth. I am going to focus down this left colossi because I feel that's the best thing to do, and I have always, this is a tip that I think you should do. I don't think it's personal preference because I think it makes it much better at focus firing, at doing anything, is always have unit health bars on. Now, if you have it on selected, it takes a while to get used to, because I used to have it on selected, so I was like, oh my god, I've selected everything for a while. It sounds a bit stupid, but that's what you think. Now, it was really useful, because I was just able to focus down that colossi really, really quickly, and I think it's the best way to play. So I am losing a phoenix or two, which in my opinion is my advantage, but in my opinion, I'm going to say my advantage is actually my upgrades, not my phoenixes. My phoenixes help, but I think it's the upgrades that are going to win me. And we do see he's done some good force fields, and my army is separated. It's very nicely separated, but my phoenixes are just hammering against his colossi. He's not focus firing yet, and my army is dwindling, but so is his, and his is dwindling quite quickly. And the upgrades is going to start facilitating that rather quickly. Now, he has realized that he should be trying to take out my phoenixes, and these two phoenixes were hotkeyed to a phoenix that was dead and are no longer in a hotkey group, so that wasn't necessarily the best. But again, during most fights, I generally just do an attack move and then move out. So I'm going to swap to my camera now and just talk, because that might help you to understand how I play. So, and why I think I gain an advantage during late game. So if we look at my hotkeys, we can see 1 is my army, 2 is my phoenixes, 5 is my bases, and 6 is my production. Now, normally 7 would be my special production, 6 would be my standard production, but warp gates are always hotkeyed to W, which I rather like. Now, if we look at my APM, I'm clearly not a pro player. I'm sitting at around 63 APM. But I feel I manage 3 bases rather well, because I am able to stick around, and if we look at the production tab, I do keep a lot more things than him producing at the same time. Now, maybe I don't keep my gateways as well as they should, and if you just notice that my camera stayed there for a while, it's because I grabbed a worker, I clicked him there, and this is the worker in. We can see he has been told to bounce all around the map. So if I'm ever sitting still, it is for a reason. Now, the reason he's bouncing around the map, I should think, is fairly obvious. I'm checking for expansions, because this is a 4-player map, and your 4th or 3rd is probably going to be on the other side of the map. Now, apart from that, nothing particularly interesting is happening. I'm popping out 8 gateways. No, wait. I think I have. Yeah, I do go to 8 gateway, 2 Stargate, 1 Robo. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm running 3 base, and the thing that limits production, in my opinion, is gas, and I have plenty of that. Now, because I am mining gas from 3 bases, now that base is a little oversaturated, but I have just moved everything from my main to my secondary, and we can see me just zipping around the place, warping in some units, da-dee-da-dee-da. Now, I'm just going to pause, go back to normal, EP. So we can see he's got quite a big army out here, and this is where we start to dance again. Now, my zealots are getting trapped by my stalkers, which isn't actually that good. I do have quite a force of phoenixes, and these colossi are going to fall very quickly, given I have 111 on there and 212 there. I am about to hit 323, which is going to give me a big advantage over someone who at the moment is just 2-1, soon to be 3-1. Now my weapons are, of course, his weapons are of course cancelled out by my armor, and that means that my weapons have a big advantage over his because his are striking mine are not striking his, because if you're not aware, mostly upgrades just add 1 damage onto most units, so if they have increased armor, then that's just how it works. Now he is going to hit me with some DTs, and he does attack me at the same time as his DTs, which is very, very good, and allows him to deal quite a significant amount of damage without me intentionally realizing. But maybe a pro player would have been able to deal with it differently. But the other reason is I just didn't actually have an observer out, so I had to chrono boost. If we notice my robotics facility, it is very, very quickly going to there we go, and I do chrono boost. I was just trying to get my army down there first. I realized that was a bit stupid, so I pulled out. I grabbed a few because I didn't actually feel I needed that many, and went back down. Now, they did start attacking, but I didn't really mind. Now, I have tech to battle cruisers. No, not battle cruisers, carriers. So we've just got a couple of zealots, and my observer is coming out shortly. So he did just deal quite a large economic blow to me. But this is the point where my upgrades really start to irk me that advantage. When his army is about 20% bigger than mine, but my army is 40% better than his. So this is the point where I feel upgrades really start to shine. And I've just got 2 carriers, which to be honest is where I feel my tech is gone, where my power is, and he's having to walk past my stalkers, my zealots, everything to get to my carriers to shut them down. And we can see he's doing that. His colossi are fading quickly. I'm taking out his stalkers, my zealots are in the fray, everything's dying, and this is where I really start to irk out advantage over my opponent. Now, if you're watching the top right corner, my macro is slipping, and that's something I do think I need to work on, is reducing during a fight. Now, I'm just going to go to my camera, because I would personally like to know where I'm looking at this time. We can see I'm doing a little bit of micro, but not as much as maybe some other people. I'm now focusing on unit production and making sure everything's right. I really want a DTs at the moment because I would like to push it in with DTs. I'm really feeling the love for Dark Templars at the moment, was just scouting that. Maybe I shouldn't be looking over here as much as I am, but I'm probably hotkeying 6 SS or VV or whatever the hotkey for carriers is, C, I presume, or maybe I'm just pressing the button. I don't know. I would actually like to be able to view an option where you totally view. Now, whatever happened over here, I didn't even pay attention. I don't think it did anything. I think it might have been a couple of Dark Templars, and I think it was alright. But I'm just pushing into his base now with a bigger force than he has, with more upgrades than he has. This is where it starts to get into GG. Now, I'm going to go into post-game because I did that in one of my other games. I'm pretty sure it'll be uploading tonight, so you may not have seen it yet, but by the time you see this, hopefully you have. So, we are just going to go quit replay and go into my match history so that I can show you the post-score, the post-game score. So, because I believe that portrays a lot of information better than other things. Now, load, match history. It was the last game I played, and as we can see, I've been on a bit of a winning streak lately. I would like to acclaim this to my new strategy, because back here I was having a lot of trouble with cheese, and I decided to try something new. So 3 1v1s, I've won 5 1v1s in a row, which in my opinion is pretty damn good. Now, we're just going to go here to have a look at Bloodwater Gulch. Now, as we can see, our resources were identical. I produced more of an army because I pumped zealots, and our structures were about identical. Now, if we look at, say, resource collection rate, we basically stick together. Yeah, he's a little above me, I'm a little above him there, blah 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 blah, but then I start to pull away, and then I dip down, probably because my base has stopped mining, but that's the point where I feel I'm pushing out and I'm going to win anyway. So, again, something I need to work on. We're not perfect. Now, here's the interesting graph. If you were to just look at this box right here, you would think I was losing. I have a smaller army than him. Doesn't that logically mean I'm going to win? Sorry, lose? No, I don't think it does. And as we can see, we do have a bit of a confrontation. We both take a steep dive. I would say it's almost identical, but I start to climb a lot higher than him very, very quickly. Now, economy breakdown, I actually have less average unspent resources is less than him, which I believe is a good thing. Resource collection rate a little bit higher, not much. Workers created a little bit higher, not much. Units. So this is one of those games where maybe you can't get as much information from this summary table as you normally can, but I believe that there's a lot of information in this table. It's a resource you should be using because it's there and it's brilliant. Now, you could niggle about, oh, he created a probe 5 seconds, he created a probe 2 seconds. I don't really care. That doesn't make that much difference. Pylon 54, 51. Yay! 102, 58. Yay! 116, 119. It really doesn't make that much of a difference. Sure, at the Diamond Pro level, it'll make a big difference eventually, but for us, the low level players, I don't think it makes much of a difference. Anyway, this is Kino DVT with a strat which maybe you'd like to adapt. I'd really like it if you did. If you did, you could maybe message me on YouTube with a link to the game you did of this strategy. That'd be awesome. I have about 20 subscribers though, so I doubt that's going to happen, but who knows. Maybe it will. If you could send me a replay of you trying this strat, or maybe my anti-terran strat, or maybe using the anti-terror strat, because you might have been using it longer than me, and maybe you can school me in how to use it. Anyway, this is Kino DVT, signing off.